My name is Cary Jack, and I want to help you happy hustle a life you love, one full of passion, purpose, and positive impact. I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, a professional model / actor, a digital marketing specialist, a podcast host, author, a biohacker, an eco warrior, a martial artist, a hippie cowboy, and a humanitarian. Then check out the Happy Hustle podcast, where I interview world-class happy hustlers from spiritual gurus to multi-million-dollar entrepreneurs. It is time to happy hustle your dream reality. Yee-yee! What is up, you beautiful happy hustlers out there? Cary Jack here, and I hope you're having an amazing day. I mean it, just enjoying this very moment right here and right now. And in this special episode of the Happy Hustle podcast, we are talking about how to identify your ideal client avatar, your ICA. Because as Tim Ferriss says, you have to create your product or service for the extreme user. And I think a lot of my fellow entrepreneurs and happy hustlers out there, they get this part a little bit incorrect. And I mean that with all love and sincerity. I also got it incorrect for a while. I thought I went deep enough with my ICA, my ideal client avatar, but I didn't. And it wasn't until I really honed in on exactly who I wanted to serve, what problem I solved, and then who exactly I solved it for, things really started to manifest and the momentum really truly shifted. And so in this episode, I want to really extract the important questions you need to ask yourself when creating your ideal client avatar. And this is how you can actually identify both the demographics and the psychographics for your perfect person, who you want to solve the problem for, because that's all business is, right? Solving people's problems. So in this episode, we're going to dive deep. So buckle up. Right after a quick word from this episode's sponsor. Real quick, guys, I just want to give a huge shout out to this episode's sponsor, Therasage, who is making some of the best infrared full spectrum red light therapy products. And if you listen to the most recent episode of the Happy Hustle podcast, you will know that there is a limited time special offer going around that is only for happy hustlers. And I mean, this is super low key. Keep it on the DL. We don't want to tell too many people about it. But I'm telling you now, if you want to get the hookup on the Thera 360 Plus portable and affordable infrared full spectrum sauna, plus the Thera pitcher, water pitcher, plus the O3 ozone module and the EMF protecting shields, plus Robbie Bessner, co-founders of Therasage's best-selling ebook, you guys go to caryjack.com/Therasage, and then you can get this special deal. It's not going to last long. But I wanted to share it with you guys. And, they've been a great supporter of the show, and I really do stand behind their products, as do they. They come all with a 2-year warranty and a 30-day money-back guarantee. So you got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Go to caryjack.com/Therasage to take advantage of that amazing ultimate holistic health essentials bundle. Now, let's dive in back to this episode of the Happy Hustle podcast. All right, y'all, we are back with this episode of the Happy Hustle podcast, all about how to identify your ideal client avatar. And I recently was listening to Kim Constable's podcast, who she's called The Sculpted Vegan online. My fiance Steph follows her and went through a couple of her fitness programs. And she reminded me of the quote, because she quoted Tim in her presentation, that you must create your product or service for the extreme user. You must be very diligent on who exactly this is for. Make it for someone who really needs it. And when I'm thinking about, like, just for instance, the most recent Montana Mastermind Epic Camping Adventure, that was not for very many people. It was for a select group of high achieving, high performing male entrepreneurs making over six figures who passed the beer test, and by beer test, I mean, I actually want to get a beer with them, and who are physically and mentally capable to hike, round trip 20 miles into the backcountry wilderness and camp out for 5 days and be unplugged from their devices for 5 days, completely off the grid. Like that is a select group. And since we had such a strict criteria for our ideal client avatar for that Montana mastermind, the group all had synergies and commonalities that were unparalleled. It was very difficult to recreate that bond and that traction that was achieved through that experience, largely in part because of the qualifying that it took to get people to sign up. Like there, we had to shoo away a bunch of people who weren't a good fit. And when you are so specific and you create your product or service for that extreme user, you are going to shoo away people. People are not going to be a great fit for your product or service. Okay, so they're not going to buy it, and you shouldn't sell it to them. That's an important piece. You should not sell them your product or service if they're not a great fit. That's how you can ensure you get great results and really, enhance your customer referrals, right? So that's what I want to really dive into, is how to create that extreme user. And it's important that we take it not just demographics. When I know a lot of you guys, this might be repetitive to talk about demographics, but stick with me because we're going to talk about psychographics soon after. And that's where the magic really happens. But demographics obviously are, quantifiable characteristics of a given population. This is things like, okay, what is your person's age? And you really want to limit it to like a 10-year age range. Don't say 18 to 65, like that's too vague. Okay. What is your person's gender, right? Like for me, I'll just go through it. Like, when I think about the age of my perfect person, really it's 28 to 38, right? 28 to 38, right in the realm that I'm in. And, you got to think about who it is for you, that age range. The gender, mainly males. The industry, entrepreneurs. Their title, well, it truly depends on their title, but it's usually co-founder or CEO. Their income. Now, for you, you have to think about, okay, where do you want to serve people? Like, can they afford your product or service? If you're selling a high ticket thing and and you put down that their income is, only like 50,000 to 75,000, and you're trying to sell them a $20,000 product or service, you have to obviously reposition your ideal client avatar. So for me, the income that I truly serve people at is a threshold, usually 150,000 a year to 500,000 a year. Although I've had multiple people who are making far greater than that, somewhere between 7 and 8 figures a year. That is, the secondary. And what you'll come to find out, there's the ICA, then there's the secondary, then there's the tertiary. And we'll get into that, but stick with me. So you have to understand their income. Where do they live? Like the geographic location. Mine is the United States, but more specifically, outside of urban areas, more rural setting. Like people in cities don't like, if you look at me, I look like a damn caveman right now. I live in rural Montana outside of a main city, Bozeman. So, this is more about who your perfect person is, but oftentimes you will find yourself should really, truly, want and need the product. And that's how you can create a better product or service, is if you need it yourself too, and or have needed it in the past. So that way you can really speak to their needs. Now, the person's highest level of education, mine are all college grads. It depends on what it is for you. What's the religion? For me, it's faithful. Not necessarily one religion or another, but have faith. They believe in a higher power. What's their ethnicity? That one doesn't truly make a difference for me. I've, worked with black, white, Native Americans, Indians, all sorts of Hispanics, like doesn't matter to me in terms of ethnicity or race. But you need to identify for you who it is. Specifically, I will say I do deal more with white male, purpose-driven entrepreneurs. That's just who I seem to attract. I also deal with, female purpose-driven entrepreneurs. But I'm just kind of going through these questions so you can think about them for yourself. Okay. Now, we got the demographics, right? That's an important piece, especially if you're going to ever run paid traffic. You need to know who exactly that person is that you want to serve. And those demographics are key characteristics in order to find them. Now, the psychographics, this is different. Okay. The psychographics are the study or classification of people according to their attitudes, their aspirations, and more psychological criteria. Okay. This could be someone's habits. This could be their hobbies. This could be spending habits or values. This is really where you understand the why behind why they buy. Okay. So the why behind why they buy. I know it's a word mouthful, but what it really is their psychological process and what they really care about. And that's the first thing you need to understand when you're thinking about psychographics. Okay, what does this person actually care about? Okay, then what are these person's wants and needs? For me, what the people that I serve care about are people who are struggling with imbalance. They care about getting back to a healthy work-life balance, both personally and professionally. They're out of balance and they're suffering, and they know they're not as fulfilled because of it. They're not as happy because of it. What are their wants and needs? What are your person's wants or needs? I know my person's wants or needs is they need a system. They need a structured system in order to create that work-life balance, and they need accountability, and they need a community to support them. That's where all real great change happens with those three components. You got expert mentorship, accountability, and community. And that's what you need to bake into your product or service in order to really, transform change. But for my person, they needed that structured system. And that's why I created, the soul mapping system, because I needed it. I was, struggling from imbalance. I was working like a damn dog, 100+ hour weeks, grinding my face off, getting, 5 or less hours of sleep a night. And so I needed a big shift. And that's how I kind of scratched my own itch first with the soul mapping system, my proprietary IP that basically quantifies balance in each of those 10 alignments. And, I have other episodes on this framework, the soul mapping framework. You guys, if you want to dive deeper, you can just, type in Google Cary Jack's soul mapping. You'll see it pop up. You can listen to that episode. But for this episode, identify what your person's wants and needs are. Okay. Now, what is this person searching for? This is really important too. This is like, okay, are they searching for a actual physical product, like, or are they searching for a more of a coach or a mentor? Are they searching for, like a group or a community, or maybe a trip or some type of, course or book? You have to think about what it is that they're searching for. Okay. What is this person's passions and interests, right? I know my people, they love the outdoors. They're big into nature. And, for me, I love fly fishing and horseback riding and martial arts and team sports. And a lot of my people also love these things. Now, what are these, this person's limiting beliefs? This is also an important question to ask. You have to know, like, what is holding them back. We all have those self-limiting stories that we ask, or that hold us back. And we need to ask ourselves what those are. What are those things that might be holding back your perfect person? Like, some of my person's limiting beliefs are definitely they have to be plugged in all the time. They have to have their phone or their laptop, open and available for their team, or else they might miss something or drop the ball. That's a limiting belief. You don't have to have that. You can have happiness within the hustle and not be constantly connected. Okay. So you have to think about, what are your person's limiting beliefs? And then, what questions does this person need answered? Like, what are the questions, like how to actually achieve blissful balance is a question that needs to be answered for my people, the happy hustlers out there. Like, how do they actually do it? Like, what's the system? What's the process behind it, and what is required on their end? What's delivered upon my end, right? And you have to think about, what are those questions that need to be answered for you and your person. So, and these questions, I just want to mention, I learned all these questions specifically from Brand Builders Group. And they do a fantastic job really helping hone in on your ideal client avatar. So, like, this is something that I'm really passionate about, is building and monetizing your personal brand right from the first time. And that goes with building and monetizing your product or service as well. If you have a personal brand business, like, Brand Builders Group is the go-to agency to really help you grow it. They helped me with mine. That's why I'm such a big proponent and a partner of theirs. So you guys can look on my website under favorite products and actually book a call in regards to Brand Builders Group if you guys want to dive deeper in this stuff with them. But regardless, that is where, these questions really came from. For me, just scratching my own itch again, having to deal with my perfect ideal client avatar. So you have to think about this stuff for you. Okay. Really have to build your product or service for the extreme user. And as JLD says, niche down till it hurts. John Lee Dumas, a friend of mine and been on the show multiple times. You really have to niche down till it hurts. Like, it's not good enough to just say, purpose driven entrepreneurs. Like, that's too vague even for me. I have to take it, further. Purpose driven male entrepreneurs who are 28 to 38, and live in this demographic, making this much money, who pass the beer test, who have these qualifications, who are struggling with imbalance, blah, blah, blah. Like, I can go much deeper. And then I name them, right? I actually named them. I have Sean, who is my perfect target avatar, my perfect person. And I have everything about them. And I put them into this whole template that, I really know everything that I need to know about both the demographics and the psychographics of Sean, my perfect person, right? So you have to think about what that person looks like, what they need, what they're struggling with, their self-limiting beliefs. And that's how you really start to identify who your extreme user is, who really needs your product or service. And I just want to mention this too, because I've done this the wrong way, where I built the product first without testing it with my perfect target avatar. I've spent thousands of hours creating an online course. Maybe not thousands, probably hundreds, but hundreds of hours definitely, creating an online course that really wasn't for my perfect person. It was what I thought was for my perfect person. But again, test, don't guess. That's an important piece when you're creating a product or service. If you identify your ideal client avatar properly, you should be able to then find them and then ask them what they need, and then create that product or service based on their needs, right? Not on your wants, but on their needs. That's how you can ensure that you actually make money and an impact with your process, right? With your product or service. And obviously, the whole secret here is doing this with the service over self mindset, right? Creating a product or service that you think about constantly, like, what can I do to really serve this person? How can I really truly solve their problems? And that's, again, what business is all about: solving people's problems. Are you solving people's problems or not? If you're doing a great job solving people's problems, you will get results for them, you will get referrals from them, and you will make money. And if you're not getting people results and you're not solving their problems, well, you're not going to get referrals and you're not going to make money. As they say, your net worth is a direct correlation with the value that you create in the world. So if your bank account is a little low right now, well, you need to create more value in the marketplace. Okay. And again, important first, a couple of steps. One, figure out that problem that you actually solve. And then two, who exactly you solve it for, right? That's really important. So those are some of the important pieces that I wanted to share for this puzzle on how to identify your ideal client avatar. This is a power packed episode, right to the point. I really, my goal is to just give you this knowledge that I learned myself and then be the reporter, share it. This is stuff that really helped me in my business and on my entrepreneurial journey of really happy hustling a life that I love. And I know it can make a big difference on you as well. So you really have to think about, okay, what is that ideal client avatar, or who is that ideal client avatar, before you dive deep into this stuff. So that is the message for this podcast episode. And I really hope that you take it and then implement it, get crystal clear on your ICA, your ideal client avatar, and then go out there and serve them, help them create, the results that they desire. I hope you got some value from this one. Share it with someone out there who needs this message. I appreciate and love y'all. I'm out. Peace.